Yes. Let me get it out of the way because I know that's why the people tune in, kind of like Gary Coleman and what you talk about, Willis. Sometimes it was Mr. Drummond. I suppose sometimes it was Kimberly, maybe Pearl. Name the maids on Different Strokes, Jackson, since you couldn't name Monday Miracle.
Was there Alice?
No. That was a show that ran at the same time. Was that on CBS?
I have Matt Rocchio's phone. Who should I text first?
Wow. But there are a lot of Ween picks in there, and not necessarily his. All due respect.
Oh.
Yeah, Rocchio's my guy next week.
Stop
He
saying
is.
Jim.
We're all... That's hot. Yeah, we'll be doing, 3 shows? Because you're flying to Las Vegas next week.
Yeah, so
you
Wednesday.
And Lisa in?
No, Lisa Ann will not be joining. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. You'll
Nice.
have Matt Rocchio on your hip. And then...
How's the audience going to feel about that?
they'll probably enjoy the show more, if I had to guess.
Or dislike it less, depending on your perspective.
Yeah, and perspective is so key.
Boy, is it ever. Amen.
Still trying to name these maids.
Right.
So Alice is not one of them?
No.
Wasn't there someone you always reference named Dingbat?
No, you're back on the television show Alice again. You can't get off the show Alice.
Was there Flo?
That's also from Alice.
Mildred? Was there anyone
I
named
don't know
Mildred?
about that. That was Mel Sharples. You had Mrs. Garrett,
Okay.
and then she had the spin-off Facts of Life with Blair, who lived in Des Peres. Did you know that? Did you know Lisa Welchel lived in Des Peres?
You're just naming. I don't know what they did spin-offs.
Did you do any show prep?
They did.
Honestly.
How many of these sitcoms got spin-offs?
I'll tell you a lot, now that I think about it.
You don't see that. I guess
Was the last one Joey for Friends with Matt LeBlanc? Text in 314-399-9646.
I don't like Friends.
Really?
No.
Wow, it's like I can tell you're like it's beneath you.
No,
It's like somebody offered you like a chicken wing, and you're like, oh, no caviar tonight?
I would never, ever turn down. I love chicken wings so much. But I would say, like, I know there's like a debate going on, like Friends or Seinfeld. And to me, to even compare the two.
They're 2 totally different shows. Where's this debate taking
One
place?
is outstanding humor, and the other is like, kind of a star
you know what
vehicle.
you do daily on this show, and I've had it, and me and Rocchio
Right.
are more proletariats, whereas you're a nobleman. You look down on the common man. That's what I've discovered about
Is
this.
Friends the common man show?
Yes.
Well, it makes it that tracks because, I mean, it's a star vehicle. You got Aniston and David Schwimmer, Matt LeBlanc, less so than the other two, but it was a real star maker. Less so. Seinfeld was the opposite. It was a kind of
The biggest star going into Friends, though, boy, was Courtney Cox. Did you know that?
Also a bit, but also had a big career after too. So
Because the Scream franchises.
that and Cougar Town. I know people are into that.
You talking about Brio? So give me these different strokes. You have Mrs. Garrett.
Right.
You had Adelaide. And then you had Pearl. And then Mr. Drummond married Dixie Carter. She had a cute little redhead named Danny Cooksey.
All these shows, I couldn't tell one from the other. Facts of Life, All in the Family.
I have so much to get to, and the fact that you don't know this stuff distracts us from the issue at hand. All right. Jackson did not get the Blues television color analyst job.
I didn't. It's official.
I was in a tough spot because I like when Jamie Rivers comes in here to physically assault you. But I also like you.
Thank you.
I don't appreciate the lack of show prep on different housekeepers, different strokes, but I thought that it was a tough call for Bally's, the Blues, to make between you and Jamie Rivers. And part of me wonders if you were going to get it, and then yesterday when you said you didn't know what the Monday Night Miracle is, that got Rivers the job.
Well, I would say it didn't help my case, but I also was extremely transparent in saying that I don't know much about not only the Blues, but the sport of hockey in general.
Right.
Like, icing is still a kind of a blind spot in my knowledge of the game. Not really sure.
But I think like half the color analysts in the NHL probably don't know what icing is.
Right.
So I don't know if that's a disqualifier.
Right, or at least struggle with it. Boarding, another thing, not totally positive on. Charging, all these things. Like, I don't necessarily know about the ins and outs of the sport, which for, a color commentator could be difficult. But I said I think that's part of the draw is that I am not someone who's well-versed in the sport, so I could learn in real time, and people could see my progress from, season 1 till who knows, season 50.
You could have been on the call for 50 years.
I'm 25, so 75 years old.
Sure, 75 years of Blues hockey with Piddles. But instead, it's Jamie Rivers. So this had to be a tough call for you to get when Bally's or the Blues informed you this morning that they had decided to go with somebody who had been calling games and played for the organization and hosts, all due respect, to our 1 hour of midday radio, 4 hours of drive time radio, in which they do, again, I say respectfully, knowledgeably talk about the franchise whose games air here on this very radio station, 101 ESPN.
All I heard there, Tim, was semantics. Like, sure, the guy played the sport of hockey. Mm-hmm. Did he go to Ladue High School? I don't think so. Sure, the guy knows more about the sport.
Good for you. That's a good concession to make. That's classy.
But, does he have just pure, like the palest of pale white skin? Like, this is TV. I am TV material.
No, I agree with that.
I bring, the Blues and what they do on the ice puts asses in the seats. I put asses in the couch. I put asses in the leather. People will come to their television set and watch a guy who just doesn't understand the sport. And I think that would have brought. Now, if it could go to anybody in the world, I'm really happy for Jamie Rivers.
Oh, my gosh.
I love Jamie Rivers.
Oh, my gosh.
I think he's outstanding at what he does. I think he's an even better human. I know that we have this long-standing riff, but I'm going to concede and say that if it was to go to anybody in the world, I'm glad it went to Jamie Rivers.
Wow. Now that's class.
Thank you.
That's like Jack Nicklaus and the concession, the Ryder Cup. What a moment. What a moment. Yeah. Class.
Yeah.
I think even your biggest detractors, of which there's like a couple, would say, you know what? Good for you. Good for you there.
Yeah.
I know Stephen Wildwood left a mic drop. Now you're looking at me with a kind of like a KOMU weekend anchor when the teleprompter goes down. Panic. Have you not vetted the mic drop?
No, I have not yet.
We had an unfortunate incident this morning on TMA. I know a lot of you listened to it. And both the S and F words were used in a matter of 3 seconds from a drop that was not vetted. And so I'd prefer to limit the FCC violations I'm a part of to one per day. That's kind of something that I set out when I wake up in the morning.
Right. And they were so close in succession that you can call that it was a 2-for-1 situation, a little twofer. So I will vet that first. But again, just Jamie is first class. He's great. And I would understand if the Blues had some trepidations about hiring me based on the Monday Night Miracle thing.
Right.
But now I know. They can't get me on that fastball. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, that whole thing. So I wouldn't mess that up a second time. Your
Mount Rushmore of Blues moments. We visited this morning because one of the members of TMA, Ken Iggy Strode, did not consider the Monday Night Miracle on the Mount Rushmore of Blues moments. I was a little surprised by that.
So we'll go winning the Stanley Cup, raising the chalice in Boston.
Okay.
I'll go Patty Maroon's double overtime goal against the Stars.
Nice. I think people would accept both of those.
I'll go with the Monday Night Miracle.
Of which you've heard about.
Right, and then I'll go with the day they unveiled the Navy alternate jerseys with the arch in the middle. That was
That's the fourth best moment in the franchise's history.
It's the first best moment for me.
Wow.
And then the worst moment was when they got rid of them.
I feel like you're just being passive-aggressive because you didn't get the Blues color commentary job, and now you're taking a shot and going like, yeah, the fourth best moment or first best moment was when they got new sweaters.
Well, there was the most beautiful hockey sweater I've ever seen, and they're like, it's too good. We'll get rid of it for these like light blue ones that I don't think are very good.
Wow, that's going to be an unpopular position.
I know, I don't think that color combination works at all. Like, to me, it's craziness. But what do I know, Tim?
I felt like you were going to exit losing out to Jamie Rivers with class, and then it's kind of like you sense the bitterness, and you took a shot. That's how I'm coming away from this segment.
No, listen, love the Blues. They do a lot of great things for the community here in St. Louis. I'm always going to support local teams. That's who I am. I care about neighborhoods and communities.
Hey, you're doing my...
Right. But I think they really messed up changing up the sweaters. But what do I know? I don't know much. That's why I didn't get the job, Tim.
I appreciate Jackson's transparency as well as his honest opinion on Riv's superior hockey knowledge. Look at that. Look at that.
Thank you.
You're starting to get some support in here. Navy blue and royal blue never match. Ever. It's from the 813.
There was no royal blue in those. They were just straight navy with the gold accents and the white numbers on the back. It looked gorgeous. Why they got rid of it? I'll never. Royal blue and darker blue don't match, and that's what they kind of go with now.
It's kind of what the Rams had.
Yeah, and the Titans
helmets
do it.
didn't match.
Oh, that was bad. Like the first year in L.A., it was terrible. They wore the crappy St. Louis uniforms with the white horned helmets.
Good morning. I get the sense that Jackson throws temper tantrums when he doesn't get Dino chicken nuggets out of and mac and cheese for dinner when he was a preteen. Is that accurate? Do you throw temper tantrums when you didn't get your dino shaped?
No, dino nuggets weren't like a big thing for me growing up. I did like have chicken nuggets all the time, like any kid would.
Oyster, lobster.
No, I'm not a seafood guy, so it's
fillets.
I love steak, yeah, but
sashimi.
No, again, fish. Not a fan of uncooked fish. Also, not a fan of. So no, I didn't throw a lot of temper tantrums. I mean, every kid throws temper tantrums. I was a child.
How about the 50 goals in 50 games by Brett Hull? Does Jackson even know what that is? Takes much more talent than anything you could do in basketball. It's from the 314.
That's a whole different conversation.
It's not one you want to have today. On a day you found out you will not be the Blues color commentator.
I can't speak on it because I have never, been on the ice with a hockey stick. Never once. Mm-hmm. That was never a thing I ever wanted to do. So I don't know how difficult. I know it's very difficult to score 50 goals in the 50 games. Is that what Hull did? Yeah, that sounds brutally difficult.
Nice.
But Will Chamberlain scored 100 points in one game.
It's all he's got is, it's like, Michael, look at him. He's making the progress. And then right then at the end.
Well, I mean, yeah, just world-class athletes. It's kind of what do I know? Again, what do I know? I played a lot of basketball.
World-class athletes, you're talking about the NHL.
Both the NHL and NBA.
All right, okay, fine.
It's not going to reach that mountaintop, you're going to have to be really talented at either. To say one has more talent than the other, it's apples and oranges.
Who are the best athletes in sports, in your opinion?
Basketball players, without a doubt.
So you come to this with some bias.
If you want to actually have that conversation, then we can.
Sure.
If people want to be biased.
We do have the Little Piddles Sports Business
newsletter.
Yeah, brought to you by Angry Beaver.
Okay, just look at Giannis and tell me if you know if you can find.
Now we're activated. Now it happened.
Find a better.
Now it happened.
A blend of skill and athleticism in the world, and I'd be interested. If you could actually find someone with a better blend of athleticism and skill in the world, I would be truly impressed. Same goes for Kevin Durant, Jason Tatum, Jokic, all these guys. Try being 7 foot and dribbling a basketball and getting around guys who are also 7 feet tall. What do I know?
You ever see Craig Stadler ball strike?
Yeah, but that's all almost all skill. It's not necessarily that blend of athleticism and skill. That's why I think basketball does better than every other sport.
Okay. It's going to be a tough 45 minutes.
Yeah, but shout out Jamie Rivers, for real.
Look at that.
For real.
For the reals.
For real. Like a true, wonderful person to work with. I think he's hilarious. I think he's really talented outside of just hockey.
You guys did have a sit-down yesterday about the Monday Night Miracle.
We did, and he was actually more understanding than any texter who's ever texted into the 101 ESPN Air Comfort Service text line. He was more rational about the situation than anybody.
He must have known he was going to get the job, and he knew you were going to have a tough 24 hours.
Yeah, that's the other thing, too, Tim, is he's a considerate guy. He considers my feelings, and I appreciate that.
So he was understanding about the fact that you did not know what the Monday Night Miracle was.
Especially when I approached him like this.
That you were getting ready to fight him. If you're watching on YouTube, what a reward for you.
Right, and he said, if you're going to put those fists up, you better be ready to use them, boy. And I was not.
And you put them back down.
Yeah, well, I think we both wanted to leave, our faces as our livelihood.
Sure.
So we don't want to walk
Fighting in the workplace, usually not good, at least on the FM dial.
Right. On HD2, we do it all the time.
All right, you can text in 314-399-9646, Air Comfort Service text line. You are also welcome to watch on YouTube, talk it over. I see Tiny PP is active. He said the little boy who never played hockey is going to say basketball. LOL.
Yeah.
Tom Summers is in there. He's not a big fan of the conversation. I don't know how Tim works with it, and then I can't read it here. Let's see Giannis skating around the rink. That's from the Walrus King.
Here's the funny thing. Giannis will make more in his career than the entire Western Conference.
You just wealth shamed. You just wealth shamed.
Well, I'm just saying,
wealth shamed.
If all these guys are such much better athletes than NBA players, why do Steph Curry and Klay Thompson make more money?
I'm landing the plane. I'm throwing to the break. I'm landing the plane. Jackson being considerate, kind, talking about Jamie Rivers, saying both hockey players and basketball players are world class. I'm just landing the plane. Folks, enjoy your stay in St. Louis. Come on in. Hello again, everybody. And then all of a sudden you brought up money.
Well, I'm just saying, like, if these guys are, so much better, like incredible athletes, they are incredible athletes. But if they're so much better than NBA players, why is the discrepancy like Connor McDavid makes less than the 8th guy on the Heat's bench?
Oh my God. You can't let me land the plane. Folks, we had an issue on the runway, so we're going to take a stop in Colombia.
It's always pleasant when you have to fly over like that.
I have had that happen. Where we're about to land, and then shot right back up.
I had to go back to Colombia? Like, were you flying from
Colombia, but then I had to, circle. I don't know what the hell happened. This was at Lambert.
I guess it's fairly alternative.
Things like that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, we got the Little Piddles Sports Business newsletter.
Yes.
Brought to you by Angry Beaver, and it's very active in the YouTube chat and the Air Comfort Service text line. Watch the show on youtube.com 101 ESPN channel. This is Balloon Party, driven by Mungan, St. Louis Acura, Alton Toyota on 101 ESPN. Boom. Boom and boom is what I say. Welcome back, Balloon Party. 101 ESPN, driven by Munganess, St. Louis Acura, Alton Toyota. If you're watching on YouTube, number one, you see that we're both really cute. Number two, you see Jackson's kind of dancing.
I really like this. This
is your jam?
bumper. Yeah, it's kind of sway with the music a little bit. I think the beat's going to change up here. Oh, look at that. Orchestra.
Nice. Yeah, that was sick. Hey, we got this little Piddles sports business newsletter brought to you by Angry Beaver. But Stephen Wildwood left a mic drop, and Jackson vetted it during the commercial break candidly with the audience because this is called Honesty in Media. I used a little wizard's room during the commercial break. Strong stream, strong. And Jackson had a chance to listen and vet it. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Steve and Wildwood.
I mean, I get it. The kid wasn't even born yet when the Monday Night Miracle happened.
Stop it! It was the greatest moment in Blues history besides the Stanley Cup. How can you not know that? Piddles, give me your address. I'm coming by today, and I'm going to go through your apartment, and anything with the blue note on it, I'm taking from you. If you have any picture of you at a Blues game, any Blues memorabilia, I want it. Take it down from Facebook. You're not allowed into the arena ever again. Tired of it.
So you will not be allowed into Enterprise Center for this upcoming 2023-2024 season and beyond, per Steve, who is removing all of your Blues memorabilia and Blue Note sweaters, hats, and the like.
That won't take very long.
Oh.
It wouldn't.
Do you have any doggy stuff?
Not
just defense, doggies, defense. Defense, doggies, defense.
Nothing officially licensed by the club.
Ah.
So
therefore it's not in quote-unquote city red?
No, it's a little bit of a traditional crimson. Tim, I'm getting lambasted on the text line like I've never seen before in my entire life.
The Monday Night Miracle thing was a moment.
I think that pales in comparison to my take on basketball players are better athletes than hockey players.
Well, I think it's the combination. You got yesterday not knowing the Monday Night Miracle, and now the thing is, I see somebody going, is this kid a bit? And that just isn't the case. The Jackson loves basketball, and he loves the NBA.
I do.
I will say this, whereas privately, I would counsel you to keep some of these opinions to yourself and to your homeboys.
Yeah.
Miss Butler, shout out. I respect that you come on this station and proudly display your love for the association and acknowledge, as opposed to try to fake your way through it, that you are not a huge Blues fan or fan of the game. Now, I'm trying to play the role of speaking for the dissenter,
right,
of which we have
there's
choices
for sure
to read from. They may say it's your job to care. It's your job to know about the St. Louis Blues and the NHL, especially when you're on a sports talk station in St. Louis and the station carries the St. Louis Blues. What would you say to those people?
What I would say is I wear multiple different hats.
Didn't need to include different.
You're right. I wear multiple hats.
Nice.
In my line of work. I also produce and I'm on the show of The Morning After, which airs on KPNT HD2, also on YouTube.
Yeah, that was kind of a brag.
Now, I also produce and do this podcast with you.
Yeah. Tim McKernan
show.
Unbelievable. A lot of profanity.
Right.
Juvenile, I think it is.
No doubt. On top of all of the behind-the-scenes stuff I do for all three of those programs, including this one. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so my job is not solely to talk sports. Mm. In fact, I would say that is a single-digit % of what my job is. Mm. So therefore, I understand where people are coming from with that, and I respect their opinions.
Oh, wow.
I also would like to make a slight retraction.
Oh, no.
I would. I want to make a slight retraction.
We're going to go back up into the atmosphere.
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay.
The thing with the money in the NBA is not a fair comparison.
Oh, my gosh.
The NBA players don't make more money because they're more talented athletes. That's not fair and it's not accurate.
Wow.
They make more money because their sport is that much times more popular. But that's just a fact. Like TV ratings and honestly player salary reflect that. That's not an opinion. That's just a fact. Basketball in America is more popular than the NHL. The NBA is more popular. Like, that's just a fact. That's why they make more money. It's why the NFL players make more money. It's why Major League Baseball players make more money. I'm not saying that to chastise your passion for the game of hockey to anybody out there. Please enjoy it. Like, love it. You should love what you love. But that's just a cold, hard fact.
This guy's an idiot. Demote him to an unpaid intern. Thanks, 314. Yeah, he wears a lot of hats. The ass hat. That's from Old Pimp Daddy Beard Company?
Did that guy write for Friends?
My God. I think it started with the Monday Night Miracle. I think there was gasoline on the fire by looking down on people who like the show Friends.
Yeah.
Then you got this NBA thing. But I think at the core of it, I think you're a hurt boy because you didn't get the Blues color analyst job.
That could be it. You know, sometimes I don't look under the hood of my own self-interests. I don't necessarily, take stock or take inventory of what I need. And I think my performance on this show reflects that. There's something in my throat. I'm not getting emotional. Regardless, again, super happy for Jamie. I think that the broadcast will be better off for having Jamie instead of myself.
Well, I'm very happy for him. I thought you would have done a great job as well. I think it would have been fun for the audience to have somebody in your position with the game of hockey giving the analysis. I'm sure John Kelly would have loved spending 82 nights with you.
Well, don't they do like some national, never mind.
But I'm happy for Jamie. I think he'll do a wonderful job, and he's going to still be doing the fast lane too.
Outstanding, he is, and he's a workhorse, man. He works, like, he's out there, he's working. So shout out Jamie Rivers for real. Yeah. Incredible guy, incredible talent. Really happy for him. God bless America. There it is, and of course Canada, where he's from. God bless Canada. Yeah, amen. All right, we got the sports business. Yep, it's the sports business. Exhale loudly. Newsletter? Yep. Why I say review? It's brought to you by Angry Beaver. That's coming your way. Give me one. You know what? Me and the clock have never been good friends here. What do we do? 90 minutes before a break on TMA this morning? On the low side. Yeah. I just can't. And then we do, 2 hours on my podcast? I can't. I need a little taste here of the sports business newsletter. There you go. By Angry Beaver. So I'll tease what this first question is going to be. Oh, so you're telling me not to answer it. Wow. Well, we like to get better at teasing. All right. We can do it however you feel. No, it's your show. Al Michaels has responded to his critics, saying his talking about the lack of enthusiasm on his calls of Thursday night football. Michaels is quoted saying, "What do you want me to do? Scream, holler, yell at the game? That ain't me. That ain't Joe Buck. That ain't Jim Nantz. I can't pay attention to anti-social media." Shot at Gus Johnson. We live in a country with 330 million people, and if 8 people rip you on social media, I'm going, huh? What do you make of Al Michaels' comments? There does seem to be a trend of broadcasters adding some extra English to a call. What do you think of that? Do you think future play-by-play will mirror sports analysis with the equivalent of hot take theater? Oh, so that's the thing. You know what, Jackson? You were right. Mm-hmm. You should be the captain of this ship. I strip the sea from my sweater. Because you should be the captain. There's too much for me to try to answer that question because I'm going to be at 10:45 by the time I get done with it. It's a good question. Thank you. All right, we'll tend to that. By the way, where did you? Was he on Marchand's podcast? I got this. I listened to that. I haven't heard that episode. If he is, I got this quote from the New York Post. I don't know where. That's where Marchand writes. No doubt. I just don't know if they aggregated the story or if it was on Marchand's podcast. All right, cool. We'll talk about that along with the other questions for the Angry Beaver Sports Business newsletter that is coming your way next. This is Balloon Party, driven by Munganess, St. Louis Acura, and Alton Toyota. 101 East Main. Munganess, St. Louis Acura, and Alton Toyota is the presenting sponsor of Balloon Party on 101 ESPN. It's also the place I go to get my cars. It's where I would like for you to go to get your cars. And you say, well, Tim, you're probably just saying that because you're a sponsor. And I get that. It's fair. If this is for Family Feud, that'd probably be the number one answer. But even if I weren't on the air right now,
And this does happen. People email me, tmckernan@insidestl.com. Or they'll DM me on social media. Even though I'm not that active on there. But I'll see my messages. And they'll say, hey, can you give me that secret number for the listeners, 314-252-0029, so I can talk with Jamie Burkhardt, Clayton Patterson, Peter Munganez? I would say, hey, absolutely. That's what I do. And I'd send it to them. And then I'd say, you are going to have an incredible experience, and you absolutely will. It has been one of the best partnerships that we have had in the long, storied history of TMA and my podcast and now Balloon Party. And that's because the people at Munganast really do go out of their way to take care of our listeners. It's Munganast, St. Louis Acura, and Alton Toyota online at stlouisacura.com and altontoyota.com.
This is Action Jackson with a Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cardinals win again last night, 6-2 over the Oakland A's. That makes it 3 in a row for the Redbirds. They take on the Athletics again tonight. 5:45 p.m. is your first pitch. That was another Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Yes. You know, Jackson brought up the St. Louis Cardinals, a baseball team that plays in downtown, and they're taking on the Oakland A's.
Yep.
Baseball team that will be playing in Las Vegas on the Strip somehow. Yeah, and I was there in May, and I was talking to some of the Uber drivers when we would be riding around. I go, how's that going to work? It's already brutal. It's already brutal traffic-wise, and now it's going to be, I don't know. I mean, at least the Death Star, where the Raiders plays, on the other side of the interstate from Mandalay Bay. Anyway, during the commercial break, I went to take a look at because the Cardinals are coming tra-la. As you know, they're going to shock the world, and they're only 8.5 back of the third wild card spot. Okay?
Yep.
So they get 4 with the Mets after tonight with the A's, and then they get the Pirates next week. So whether you want to believe or not is not my concern. But if you are interested in the magic that is the Cardinals going and winning the World Series, go put $100 down, and you know how much you'll win, Jackson? $75,000.
That'd be nice.
$75,000 for almost everybody listening to this show and not producing it. $75,000 is a lot of money. If you think the Cardinals can just win the National League but not win the World Series, that's fine. You'll get $50,000 on a $100 bet.
Yeah. Well, if they
Are you interested in throwing that around? Because $100 for you is like, I don't even know if you bend over to pick it up.
Well, like just from like if you broke it down, it would literally not be worth my time. I make more in the 1 second it would take me than to pick it up.
That's what I thought.
Very similar to plenty of billionaires out there. What I would say is if they hold serve for another week, maybe it's a little bit more realistic in a week. And then when I'm at Circus Sportsbook next weekend.
Oh, that's right.
Next week, then that's when you place it.
I saw that Missouri on that over win total is 6.5. It's actually plus money. It's like plus 108.
Really?
Yeah.
It's just such a lack of faith. That's what I see out there.
This isn't like a fan thing. Like I think Illinois. What's Illinois? Do you know what Illinois' win total is? It 6.5? I'd take Illinois' win total. I'm not an Illinois fan.
Sure.
But I call it how I see it.
Right. And like the history of Missouri football has nothing to do with what next season's going to be.
Now, injuries, of course, the automatic disclaimer. But when you have 18 starters coming back.
Right. Absolutely.
And the butt-ass brigade they have in September as far as the schedule goes.
Yeah.
You got to be exiting September with 4 of those wins. Now let's find 3 more on the schedule the rest of the way.
I can find them easily.
Oh, what do you have for me?
South Carolina at home. Arkansas after Thanksgiving. And then, I don't think it's outrageous for me to say that they'll go between the hedges and come out with but they do have a week off before they go to Georgia.
Wow.
Listen, I was in the building last year when Georgia came to Columbia, and they barely escaped with their hats.
I was sitting out on the patio with my wife watching it, and I had bet Missouri. I bet Missouri straight up, just for like the hell of it.
Yeah.
And I'm going, holy crap, I might get hit. Nice little taste. Anyway, we got this Al Michaels question, and we only have so much time on this show.
So much to get to, such little time.
That's exactly right.
I think that's Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory.
Charlie Bucket, and somehow his grandparents all slept in one bed. Yeah, we're going to talk more about the lifestyle on Thursday's show. Let's get back into this Al Michaels question.
Al Michaels has responded to his critics, saying talking about his lack of enthusiasm on his calls on Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime. Michaels is quoted saying...
Read it like you're not trying to read like at the end of the sportscast and they said, hey, weather needs to come back up with the 5-day.
And that's when panic would ensue for me. I can't be thrown off. Al Michaels has responded to his critics talking about the lack of enthusiasm on his calls of Thursday Night Football. Michaels is quoted saying, what do you want me to do? Scream, holler, yell at the game? That ain't me. That ain't Joe Buck. And that ain't Jim Nantz. I can't pay attention to anti-social media. We live in a country with 330 million people. And if 8 people rip you on social media, I'm going, huh? What do you make of Al Michaels' comments? There does seem to be
Can I stop there? Because I think you had some great questions on the back end, but I want to go step by step.
Sure, absolutely.
I understand what he's saying. I do think that as somebody who watched those games, I would play daily fantasy and put rosters together for Thursday night games. I'm a degenerate. And I thought it was noticeable. I thought what he was irritated that they didn't have a better schedule.
Right, the matchups.
I don't think he necessarily didn't have passion for doing it. I really do think this, and I guess this will be a popular, assessment, with a portion of the audience here, but I really do feel like there is a thing that I think is just bad business. And that is like once you hit a certain age, I guess it's usually around your 60s in the United States at this moment, it's like, he's old, he's disinterested, he's complaining, he isn't worth the same. And that may have been the case pre the medical technology we have now, pre people taking care of themselves or being able to take care of themselves with more knowledge. But I think it's bad. I think it's bad business taking sports casting out of the equation. Whatever. I just think it's bad business. And I think we saw it with Tony La Russa in Chicago.
Yep.
Like it's like, he's too old. What the hell? What's that got to do with it? Like Jack
family.
McKernan led the Marlins to a World Series randomly in 2003, and he was older than La Russa, if I'm not mistaken, when he was at the White. So I think part of this is ageism, actually, against Al Michaels. That's what I think. I don't think he was bad. I think he was just kind of irritated. And I think Joe and Troy might have been to an extent with their first year schedule Monday Night Football. But at the time when those games had been scheduled, I think it might have been before they were announced. Either way, the Thursday night games and the Monday night games are better this year. Theoretically, sometimes you don't know how teams are going to play out.
Right, and they're flexing this year too.
And so that adds to it. So I reject the premise that he was disinterested, and I understand where he's coming from with the social media thing. I'm well on the record with where I am on that crap. All right, wait, I know you got more questions.
There does seem to be a trend of broadcasters seemingly adding a little bit of extra English to a call. What do you think of that?
Now, extra English, you mean like the yelling?
Yeah,
or are you talking about taking? And by taking, I mean Orlovskying.
No.
Stephen A-ing.
Not the latter, more so the former of getting fired up.
I agree with. I think that stuff's kind of hackneyed. Honestly, anybody can yell.
Right.
You know, that doesn't. You know,
my thing on it is like if you do that all the time, it takes away
100%
from some of the big moments.
I think of Gus Johnson as being the original yeller.
Right.
And the reason he was the original yeller was not because he was a yeller. He happened to be calling NCAA tournament games where there were these ridiculous finishes.
Right.
And then it became, I love Gus Johnson. Man, he's on the call. This is going to be fun. And then I think he felt like he had to become the yeller.
Kind of lean into it a little bit.
So now if it's a Fox college football game at 11 o'clock and Gus Johnson's on, I'm like, I got to turn the volume down a little bit because this, 3-yard touchdown run in the first quarter has turned into Desmond Howard against Ohio State in 1991. So let's settle down a little bit.
Right.
Yeah, I think that stuff, like I said, it's prop comedy for sportscasting. All right, what's the next question on the same question?
Do you think the future of play-by-play will mirror sports analysis with the equivalent of hot take theater?
No, I do not. But my reasoning for that is most organizations, the Baltimore Orioles being a recent example, but I don't think it's limited to the Baltimore Orioles. And in part, I think because of their players, don't want, what Harry Carey was doing, which was, he dropped it, and like, I don't want to say calling out, but expressing disgust with a specific play/player. That became unpopular. From my standpoint at the moment, for the most part on local broadcasts, a lot of them are the same with rare exceptions. Now, what I think could actually happen, and part of it will be because of what took place with John Angelos and Kevin Brown and the Orioles over the last couple of weeks, is an organization, not a blue chip organization like the Cardinals. In other words, an organization that's rock solid, but like the Rockies, for example, might go, you know what? Let's throw a curveball here and let's have a little more colorful broadcast to try to get people not with prop comedy crap, but with more truth-telling, more direct observation, more not balloon parties. That's where the name of the show comes from. What Joe Strauss would say was the post-game shows on Cardinals games when they would lose, we're not going to talk about the loss. Here's, Jim Edmonds hitting a home run in 2004. I think there's an opportunity for that. I think in a way, also the aging of audiences and how organically podcasts and more lighthearted approaches to sports, as that audience gets into its 40s and 50s and becomes a target demographic, they're not going to want what has been this watered down corporate cookie cutter style.
Right.
And so I could see that becoming the direction that it goes. What do you think, Jackson? You're a young tyke.
Yeah, I think that there is something to, like, there's a guy who does the broadcast for the Hornets who gets really animated every time, like, anything, like a dunk goes down. He, like, it's like he sat on a needle or something. He, like, starts screaming at the top of his lungs. And I look, at what people say about that, because I like to keep my ear to the streets, as they say, Tim.
Yeah, I know you do.
And people seem to really enjoy it, or they at least appreciate, like, the enthusiasm, I guess. So I do think that people kind of getting more and more animated into everything will...
Well, then it'll be fake.
Right. I'm not saying
if that works for people, then God bless. As I say, some people like some things, some people like other things.
Yeah, don't like other things. Yeah,
Right.
I think, and I'm not saying it's my personal favorite. I think there's time and place for all of it. But I always go about, like, Joe Buck is the king of letting it breathe.
Yeah.
And when I'm watching a college football game, like, let's say it's Penn State versus Michigan, and it's at Penn State, and the place is going bonkers, I want to hear that. All I want to hear is that after a big play. I want to hear the crowd roar. Same thing with playoff baseball, playoff hockey. I want to hear the energy in the building more so than when I hear the people on play-by-play. And I feel like less and less people are doing that because you want that signature call, like, oh, do you remember what this person said after this goal? It's like, I want to remember that. I want to remember the moment more so than the call.
Right. Yeah, Vern Lundquist let the famous kick six breathe. That happened to be on the SEC Network this past weekend, and I watched. I showed my son. I said, this is one of the greatest plays in college football history. You're about to see it. I bet there was more than a minute between Joe Buck saying, "We'll see you tomorrow night," and Tim McCarver, and I believe he was the first person to talk after that. And he goes, "How'd this happen?"
It's perfect.
I love that. I know what you're saying. But that's different than, like, the yelling thing.
Sure.
And I know you're saying that you're presenting that as an example. All right, 10:49. We got a break. This is Balloon Party.
Hey, St. Louis, I want to talk to you about Circa Sportsbook and their two major contests with $14 million in guaranteed prizes. And there is no rake. So if the entries go above that guarantee, all extra money will go to the prize pool. That first contest, the Circa Millions, with $6 million in guaranteed prizes. It's $1,000 per entry with a max of 5 entries per person. You pick 5 teams against the spread every week, and the winner takes home $1 million. You must register in person at Circa Sportsbook in Nevada. They also have the Circa Survivor Pool with $8 million guaranteed to the winner or winners. $1,000 per entry, max of 10 entries per person. Pick one team straight up every week to win. If the team loses or ties, the entry is eliminated. You can only pick each team once in a season. Go 20-0 or be the last person standing to win. If a single person wins, they get the entire pot. If multiple people go 20-0, or if multiple people are eliminated the same week to reduce the contest to 0, they will split the pot. This is all available over at Circa Sportsbook in Nevada.
Yeah, Jackson dancing. Jackson, they're talking about your trip to Tennessee with 12 guys in the YouTube chat, I see.
I think the actual number is 13.
13 guys?
Baker's dozen.
I like that, Baker's dozen. All right, what do we have on this Little Piddles Angry Beaver sports business newsletter?
Okay.
Why the pause?
I'm trying to, become a better broadcaster. So, I'm trying
I thought I was too pregnant, if there's
Yeah.
such a thing. I don't know if there's such a thing. There's.
Right. Reading Awful announcing this morning, Nebraska AD Trev Alberts discusses the possibility of a college football Premier League where the top 30 to 40 teams would be in one league and everyone else in another.
Uh-oh.
Is this akin to your theory of the NCAA shifting to more of the NFL style of competition? Could they maybe include relegation in this system? Do you think this is the future?
I just don't know why anybody would agree to relegation. Why would you... Listen, I would love it for the record as a fan. I want to answer honestly, and I just don't know why anybody would agree to that. Why take on risk? And then my bigger reaction is, well, I hope Missouri's in the town. So, yes, that's the direction that I think it's going.
Right.
That's the direction. That's what it will be. I think it'll be larger than 30 or 40.
I think it'd be all the Power 4, Power 5, Power 4.
Yeah, I think that's the direction that it's going, and I think that'll be here certainly within a decade, possibly within 5 years.
Yep.
So that does not surprise me. Now people are starting to get more and more comfortable talking about it.
Yep. And then also on the heels of that question, do you feel the upcoming college football season will feel like the calm before the storm with major conference realignment on the horizon on top of the college football playoff changing? Do you feel like the big picture issues or topic of realignment will overshadow the play on the field this year, or will people hold on dear to what they know?
I think when we're talking about it on a Wednesday, yeah, that's what we'll be thinking. But as a guy who is a huge golf fan and certainly watches it, don't talk much about it on here unless it's something that transcends sports. I find myself watching tournaments and I'm not thinking about Liv at all, or I'm not thinking about Jay Monahan's bizarro world out of nowhere interview on CNBC in June. I'm just watching the golf. So when I'm watching college football, and college football is really one of the only sports that I don't care if it's a team I have emotional attachment to or some kind of wagering. I just like watching it. I love it. I really look forward to that. I don't think I'll be thinking, oh, it's a shame the Pac-12 ain't going to be here next year. I don't think or Oklahoma and Texas is going to be in the SEC. I don't think that's, I think I'll enjoy the games, and I think most people will as well, which may sound counterintuitive at the moment. What do you think?
I agree with the sentiment of, in the moment right now, we are reacting to it because there is no play on the field at the moment. So it's basically the only topic we can talk about when it comes to college football. And I think that more and more stories and more topics or theories, kind of like what the Nebraska AD had, will be coming up as the football season goes. But yeah, once it comes down to brass tacks, we're going to be talking about Heisman trophies and all the minutia that goes along with college football.
Rankings. The next year is the year where it's going to be. That'll change because now you're talking 12 teams.
Right. And I think it will hang over the heads.
For the playoff, I'm talking.
It'll hang over college football, but I do not think it will dominate it once it comes down to it.
I would draw an analogy to the Live Golf thing, which I think is a much bigger potential impact on golf than this shift. But I think this shift is going to lead to a completely different way in which college football is played. Live Golf has geopolitical implications, and that's a separate conversation. All right, BK and Ferrari are coming up next. Jackson, big day out there is what I say about you. Big day.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? BK and Ferrari have Mason Wynn coming on today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
right.
I think at 1 o'clock.
There you go. That's coming up on BK and Ferrario. For Action Jackson, I'm Tim McKernan. This has been Balloon Party, driven by Mungan S. St. Louis Acura and Toyota 120.